Merrick Garland is trying to stamp out partisan politics at the Department of Justice, so he says. But is it too little, too late to save their reputation? In a memo to staff, Garland said employees are no longer allowed to go to rallies or fundraising events for candidates, or even support any relatives who are running for office. Why hasn't that always been the policy? Well, maybe because all eyes are on the DOJ now following the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and the Hunter Biden laptop debacle. But will this announcement change the minds of Americans who have lost all faith in the feds? The panel is back. Inez Stepman, Marie Harf, and Spike Cohen. Inez, what do you think? Did this statement give you any confidence?
No, and it shouldn't give anyone any confidence. This is merely covering up after, as you say, the scrutiny was placed on them after this raid. But if you look at the data, federal employees are overwhelmingly left-leaning. So, for example, in 2016, FEC data shows that 95% of those donations from federal employees went to Hillary Clinton. And it was very clear over the entire course of the Trump presidency, from leaks to active pushback to slow-walking policy, that these unelected bureaucrats feel that they have the power to direct American policy. And if even an elected president steps out of the very small Overton window to which they have become accustomed, they conflate that Overton window with quote unquote liberal democracy or, threats to democracy. What they're really trying to say is we set policy and there are boundaries beyond which it's illegitimate for the people to tell us what to do. And I don't think this is going to fool anybody. And I think the scrutiny is well deserved and should be kept up as much as possible.
Marie, you probably like Merrick Garland. You probably like this announcement. Is that right?
Well, the federal government's job is to set policy, and DOJ's job is to enforce laws. And when it comes to the raid, it is increasingly clear with every detail we learn that Donald Trump very likely did something illegal. And certainly people on his staff who lied in filings to DOJ should have the full weight of the law brought down on them. I think law enforcement tends to be actually more conservative than liberal in the federal government. That's true also with the intelligence community, with the military. And federal employees, are subject to certain regulations. So I think if this gives people more confidence, that's a good thing. I think that optics do matter, and having federal employees at DOJ at political rallies is probably not a great idea. So I think Merrick Garland is right here. But DOJ has been actually incredibly cautious. Look, there have been people, Democrats, mad at Merrick Garland for months that he hasn't done more about Donald Trump. And in this Mar-a-Lago raid and every affidavit that's followed, they have been incredibly cautious, incredibly small c conservative in dotting every I, crossing every T to make sure that they are not doing anything partisan. They are enforcing the law. There's no excuse for what Donald Trump did. DOJ is not the problem here. Trump's behavior is the problem.
Well, Spike, I think that what Marie said, it was true at one time. I think you had people in the intelligence services and in DOJ who were split between Democrat and Republican, but that was pre-Trump time now. I think the intelligence services saw a threat in Trump and they just lost it. Do you agree?
To some extent, yeah. I mean, they've always been partisan, and they're still partisan now. They're partisan to the ruling class. As I say every time I'm brought on to any show to talk about the FBI, it was founded illegally over 100 years ago. It continues to remain as a political organization that destroys anyone either through character assassination, false jailing, or in some cases assassination of anyone who threatens the control of power of the ruling class, whether it is Martin Luther King, whether it's Fred Hampton, whether it is Russ Albrecht or Leonard Peltier or countless others. That's what the FBI and the Department of Justice exist for. Even by their own metrics, they're a terrible law enforcement organization because that's not their purpose. Their purpose isn't to protect people. It's not to even enforce laws or to protect us. It's there to serve the political purpose of preserving the power of the ruling class. It should be abolished, and I was saying that back before it was cool.
Yeah, well, just quickly, do you think, obviously, you don't like the FBI ever, but you got to admit, they're worse now than ever. Is that right?
Well, I mean, all government organizations become progressively worse until they're vibe checked in one way or another. So, yes, they have continued to get worse, and they will continue to get worse. And long after Donald Trump's no longer here, and frankly, long after none of us are here, if the FBI remains and continues to be allowed to be unchecked, it will continue to become progressively worse.
Vibe check the FBI. I like it. Meanwhile.